Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is the round table, grinding the wheel of table for two. Our topic today is the cost of courage, what it takes to speak truth in a noisy world. Welcome to the round table where bold questions meet brave voices. The episode is Table for Two, an intimate setting where we strip away the noise and lean into the kind of truth that shapes minds, moves hearts, and sometimes rattles the system. I am your host, Chokube Okwono, and today's conversation is not just timely, it is timeless. Across the table from me sits a man whose voice cuts the chaos of our digital age. A man of many colors, Barrister Daniel Elumba. He is a distinguished media and technology expert, legal practitioner, and accomplished entrepreneur with a diverse portfolio spanning multiple industries. He is a qualified lawyer and a partner at VLS Solicitors, a reputable law firm based in the United Kingdom, where he provides expert legal counsel on matters ranging from corporate and immigration law to civil litigation and dispute resolution. With a profound passion for digital innovation, Barrister Elumba has made significant contributions to the evolving media and tech landscape, leveraging his expertise to drive progressive discourse and implement forward-thinking solutions across platforms. He is also the founder and publisher of Elumba News, a widely respected online news outlet known for its bold investigative journalism and commitment to truth and accountability in Nigeria and beyond. In addition to his legal and media ventures, Daniel Elumba is a strategic entrepreneur and a seasoned real estate investor with a proven track record in property acquisition, development, and asset management, both in the UK and Nigeria. His ventures reflect a sharp business acumen and a commitment to creating value through innovation, integrity, and impact. Barrister Elumba is the managing director and the chief executive officer of the Diaspora Digital Media in Nigeria. He continues to play a pivotal role in shaping public opinion, defending human rights, and empowering communities through advocacy, enterprise, and thought leadership. Barrister Daniel Elumba, welcome to the round table.
Thank you very much. I don't know what you want me to say. As we are reeling out all these lawyers, I was wondering who are you talking about?
I'm talking about you.
Are you
A
talking
man
about
of many
me?
colors.
I was wondering who in the audience you are talking about. Are you describing me or some other person, please? I want to know. Oh my God. Anyway, let's a few corrections are in order actually. I work with VLS Solicitors as a legal consultant. I'm not a partner in the firm. And also, Diaspora Digital Media Network does not have a managing director. I'm only the chief executive officer. I'm a servant of the company, as you are well aware. So I help the company to innovate. I advise them and basically use my 20 years expertise in digital media to advise them. Basically, I'm a consultant, whether it's the digital, entrepreneurial, or legal. I always work as a consultant with the companies I work with. And my foray into the world of human rights identification, investigation, and enforcement, I think is over now. I used to do that when I was younger. But if you look at my white beard now, you will notice that I'm no longer.
In fact, I was about to ask
I'm no
if you
longer.
are a brother
I'm no
to
longer.
Dean Odumegwu Ojukwu,
Yeah. So if you look at
because
my.
you look more like Dean or Odumegwu Ojukwu.
Yeah, if you see my white beard now, you can see that my young years is now behind me, because when you study law, one of the things um, legal studies will make you do is to be more conscious of violations of rights. And before we delve, I know you will eventually ask questions about some of the things I've done. Once you've studied law, whether you like it or not, you will have a deep sense of saying no to injustice. And if you are someone who really cares, you will find out fighting against injustice, enforcement of human rights is something that will come naturally to you. But as someone said, as you grow older and more wise, and you start to, take a more advisory and consultancy role for people who want to remain in that field. So I just want to make this brief correction so that people who actually know me in London will not start asking questions. Is this the Daniel Lombard they know that is being described here? Or is it another Daniel? So thank you very much for that introduction.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, now take us back to the moment that changed everything for you. What happened and how did it shape who you are today?
It's interesting, really. When I hear your first question, my mind started asking if it's what made me to go to read law, or what made me travel to the United Kingdom, or what made me to start working in the media industry. So I don't know which one is more impactful, but I think it's actually what made me to go and read law. Because I remember when I was young, after finishing my secondary school, I was having a conversation with my dad. What profession will I choose? I prefer to go and study medicine. Unfortunately, as a young man, you made certain mistakes. There are things you don't know. So I wasn't told that for me to study medicine, I have to have a credit in physics. So when it was time to choose to register for JAMB in Nigeria then, so I was told I cannot apply to study medicine because I failed to study physics. And when I realized that, I now went back to study physics, but along the line, something again changed. So I now told my dad I want to study law. My dad said, no, you cannot study law. I said, okay, I want to study journalism. My dad said, no, you cannot study journalism because journalists often go to jail in Nigeria. They're always imprisoned. And so I asked my dad, what do you want me to do? My dad said, simply come into my business. I want you to be a businessman. It was a problem because in my life, I never dreamed I would be a trader, but that is basically what it is. So eventually, my dad had his way. I have to go back to Nnewi from where he is. I went to study spare parts, motorcycle spare parts. That is what Nnewi is known for.
Yeah.
So I went back to learn motorcycle spare parts. Then I started to deal in motorcycle and generator spare parts. Then one day, I was driving my dad in his car, and the policeman stopped us. And my dad does not give bribe, never in his life. My dad will never give you bribe, even if you want to kill him. It's not him. So my dad refused to give a policeman the normal thing we do in Nigeria at every police checkpoint. So it happened that a small journey of 5 minutes that was taking us from Nnewi to Onitsha ended up taking a whole day. Because in those days, I think it may still be there up till now. Every 1 kilometer, you see a police checkpoint. Every kilometer, you see a police checkpoint. So it took us a whole day. Nnewi to Onitsha should be 5 minutes. So when I came back, I said no. That I want to study law. Yes. So I don't want this nonsense of police nonsense. So I had a friend then who was a lawyer in Nnewi town. So I went to him. I said, Ofo, if I want to study law. So yeah, you can. So I had a friend then who was in UNN. I told him I want to go back to school. He said, okay, how do we do about it? That is one thing, but before then, actually, there was another incident that also was pivotal. After you take a secondary school in Nigeria, you receive notification that WAEC, as it was then, I did class 5, not class 6 as you guys did. Maybe you did JSS, JSS, and SSS. No, we were the last set that did class 5 in secondary school, and after us, SSS and JSS took it.
Really?
Yeah.
You're an old man.
So we were the last set. You can see I'm an old man. So one day I have started business. Then I said my dad forced me to become a trader. So I became a trader dealing in generator and motorcycle spare parts. So when time for result came, we were told to come and collect our WAEC result. I think that was more pivotal than that police incident. Yes. I think the police incident only made me to study law. But what made me to leave my business to go back to school was actually this incident. So I think it's more pivotal. So I went to my school, my then alma mater, Nnewi High School, to collect my WAEC certificate. So you go into your principal as it was. I don't know what happens now. Your principal brings out your certificate. You sign to say you have collected it, and then your principal shakes your hand and says goodbye. So when our principal picked up my WAEC certificate, he looked at it. Let me not say I'm an intelligent boy, but at least I did well. So he looked at my results, said A, 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 B, 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 C, C. So he looked at me and said, I think I make 5 A's actually, 5 A's. So he said, oh, what a brilliant result, young man. So where are you now? Which school are you studying in now? I said, sir, I'm not in school. He said, where are you? I said, I'm a trader in Nnewi. The principal looked at me and said, what a waste. So that statement, what a waste. I came back, I felt so unhappy. And that was the day I decided I will go back to school. So I think that is more pivotal than the other one of whether I will now. Yeah. So I think this is what made me decide, first of all, to go back to school. After I'm already made, I think I'll be 25 years then. I went back to school at the age of 25. And then I think the other one is just what made me, what course will I do? That one made me to choose to study law. So yeah, I think these two incidents marked a turning point to me as a young man.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
In fact, your story is quite encouraging. And I believe young people are here listening to what you're saying, and they are picking something. You have achieved a lot. But what is one struggle or failure you really talk about that taught you the most? You just showed us how you were able to go back to school, begin to study law. But can you tell us that one struggle or failure you really talk about that taught you the most?
I hope you not force me to say something that no one individual has heard about before now. But I think the one failure that's very instructive is like I said, even while I was studying law at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, I was still doing my business. So I'm always doing two things at a time in my life. So I think that the business, after about 5 years of success, because we eventually started to import motorcycles from South Korea. I think our company then was the first business in Nigeria that started the importation of second-hand motorcycles from South Korea. Nnewi is, as you know, is a trailblazer in anything about vehicle, motorcycle, and all those things. So when they started to,
of course.
so these Belgium motorcycle people know about. It's an Nnewi innovation. Started in Nnewi first of all. But then most of the motorcycles being imported through Nnewi, then you will talk about Japanese and Taiwan. But something happened around then, I think around in the late 90s. So we started to explore to import motorcycles from South Korea. So our company was the first company in Nigeria that started the importation of second-hand motorcycles from South Korea. And being number one means that a lot of people will come and say, Daniel, can you help me to do this business? I've always said to young people, the most important investment you can make in your life is trust. Anybody who comes close to me, the young boys I trained in business and then with them, I always tell them the most important investment you will ever have in your life is trust. So I'm repeating it so that anyone hearing me, if you're still a young man, please always invest in trust. And I always say that people trust me. I try to make people to trust me, not because I'm really a righteous man or very too religious or really, but I've always felt that the most important investment again you can have in your life is trust. When people trust you, the sky, well, you guys no longer say it's your limit. You guys now say it's your stepping stone. So trust has always helped. So whenever I start a business, people will come and say, Daniel, can you help me do this? You can't believe it. So at that time when I started to do business, people started to give me money. No agreement, no receipt. So you can have people give me $10,000. Say, Daniel, can you help me to load a container from South Korea? You see banks, it's not a joke. If you go to Nnewi today, you can always ask people, go to that line. The line is still there, generator pass. If you ask them about Elsdan, so my name then was Elsdan. So I said, Elsdan, help me import motorcycle parts from South Korea. Then if you want to import motorcycle from South Korea, 20-feet container will cost you around $18,000. 40-feet container will cost you around $25,000. So you will have a businessman come to me, Elsdan, take $25,000, import a container for me. No receipt, no agreement. So that's it. So always invest in trust. But then that also became my albatross.
Wow.
It became a problem for me because people will always give me this money. So at a point, you can see me in my accounts, $150,000. I'm talking about 1998, 1997.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're starting 1999.
But then it became a problem. It became a problem because at a certain period, government policies change. And another thing is that I cannot do that business alone. So you have people also working with you. And because I believe that in trust, I also trusted people. So that was the problem. It was a big mistake to trust people because you feel that people trust you. So I trusted people, imported those motorcycles. Some of them I will import those motorcycles and they will also say, Daniel, Elsdan, help me to sell this container and remit the money to me. And that is
Great
trust. Yes.
Great trust.
And then I will now delegate people to go to Lagos and sell this same container and give me the money. So that became a problem. So the people I trusted to do that business because I'm in school. In fact, that year I was about to take my final year, second semester exam in law. So I did not have time to look after the business. I think this is the first time I'm telling this story because a lot of people didn't know what happened, and I refused to tell the story. So it's that's
and now the world is hearing what has happened.
Yeah, and people who will hear this story, who were involved, will be like, so this is what really happened because it became a huge scandal.
Oh no.
So when I delegated people to go to Lagos and sell those containers, I don't know. let me not accuse them of fraud, but at the end of the day, the entire money was not remitted. And
Oh, no.
this involved about 3 or 4 people who contributed huge sums of dollars to import these motorcycles.
Oh, my God.
Some people even borrowed money because it was a very lucrative business. And so the whole money didn't come. So you can imagine what happens in Nnewi, in Igbo land, where people give you money and start telling them stories. Done. We know. So let's just stop there. So it became a problem, and that business failed. In fact, it was that business that made me stop Nnewi business, because I wasn't studying law to say when I finish studying law, I'll go and practice law. No, I was studying law just to have a legal knowledge and then to continue my business. But that's how the experience. Yeah, so that's how the experience marked the end of business. I said, okay, let me just go to law school. I went to law school, did my bar exam, was called to bar, and I left the Navy because of that incident. It was a very sad one. Yeah, so I left the town. That's it. Let me stop here, beg.
I feel like crying.
Yeah,
because I can imagine the trauma you passed through when people were expecting you to deliver and hold the values you stand for, and you came back telling them stories. My dear. But today, a lot of these people will hear what has happened, and know that your hands
because
were
it's also interesting because that was the first time I was arrested by the police.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a silly incident. It destroyed relationships. A lot of my friends because before I left, people will come to me and say, Daniel, because that time people will started traveling to Canada, to traveling to Germany, to travel to Taiwan, Japan. I said, I'm not traveling. So those who wanted to travel will come to me. I give them money. Okay, go to Germany. Okay, go to Japan. Another thing I also say is please try to help people, because this is just one episode. Eventually, other businesses that I also ventured into, again, trust issues. And then, but because I have helped a lot of people to travel, so when that business failed, when I finished my law school, I traveled abroad and started importation of cars. Why? Because when I came out of law school, there were a lot of debts to be paid. So we sold off the business, tried to pay off some banks, some community banks that got the money. And then I didn't want to start practicing law immediately. So I said, okay, let me travel abroad and meet some friends. So when I traveled, I went to Austria. There are people I helped to travel to Austria. There are people I helped to travel to Germany. There are people I helped to travel to Belgium. You are now talking about 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002. So those people I helped to travel gave me money. And purchased a lot of cars from Europe and started bringing cars. That was how I started to sell cars for 4 years.
Oh my dear.
So again, if you are in a position to help someone, always help. Because I helped a lot of people, sponsored them to travel abroad. When they heard that my business failed, they contributed money, give me the money back, and I started another business.
Oh my goodness. In fact, I was almost like shedding tears, and now you told us a heart-lifting story. I don't know how to combine tears and laughter, but all the same, you have achieved a lot.
Yeah, it's a funny
one.
You
have passed through so many hurdles. You've jumped so many hurdles in life. And you are in the best position to advise the young people. In a world full of noise and pressure, how do you stay true to your values? Because you have jumped so many hurdles, you have been arrested by the police for something you didn't do, and you still held your values, and today you are impacting the world. How do you stay true to your values?
When I saw your team in a world full of noise, I think the world is there is too much noise. When I tell people I don't go to Twitter, really, the only time you see me go to Twitter is to promote DDM. or to promote a business. I don't go there to read what people write because it's so full of noise. And those noises are full of nonsense. So you try, if you really want to succeed in today's world, try to cut off a lot of the noises. The same thing with Facebook. You use business to promote your business, but don't go there to watch all these video streams. It's a waste of your time. So you try to cut them off. So what will help you to do that? People will be surprised to do this, but it's actually the Bible. And I feel that in today's world, people do not study the Bible. People just take the Bible as a religious book. I'm not that religious, by the way, but I love the Bible. I love God. So you take Bible principles and use Bible principles to guide your life. And one of the most important Bible principles you will get is take care of the more important things. It's in the Bible, really. Just take care of the more important things, and avoid other things that are not really important. Another thing the Bible will teach you is do not pay heed to every word, but test out every word to see that it is the truth. So in this modern world, for instance, there are so many sources of information: social media, main media, television, radio. So how do you sift out the facts from the falsehood? A lot of people today believe in fake news. A lot of people watch a lot of things and believe them. So what does the Bible tell you to do? The Bible tells you to test out every word to confirm that it is the truth. Even in the Bible, Apostle Paul traveled to, I think it was, traveled to Thessalonica. And where again? No, it's not Macedonia. What's the place he traveled? And then he said that these other people are more intelligent because when they hear my word, they do not take it as the word of God because they had it from me. They carefully searched out the scriptures to confirm that what Apostle Paul was telling them is the truth. So can you believe that? Apostle Paul
I think it is the people of Dania, or what?
Benia, yeah. My brother, you read the Bible. Benia, correct. You read the Bible. Yeah, you said Berea. You said that the people in Berea. It's Berea. Apostle Paul said that the people in Berea are smarter than the people in Thessalonica. Because when you people heard me speak, you did not just take it from me because Apostle Paul have said it. You went back to the scriptures to confirm that whether actually what I told you is the truth. So actually,
was true or not?
Yeah, you have to cut a lot of noise. Let me tell a story because I think this interview is about my life story. I will not tell everything, but let me tell a life story that will help you to understand again why you should cut off the noise. You see, when
this is timeless.
Yeah, so I think in around 2000 and I think it should be 2010 or 2011. Former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, was being prosecuted here in London for money laundering. And so that was when I was starting off elomba.com. And I started to follow the story. So I met Ibori's lawyer in London, who was also being prosecuted, to interview him about what really happened. So when I heard the story, he showed me all the documents, all the evidence about former Governor James Ibori's business transactions. And while I did not go into the issue of whether James Ibori was guilty or not, the point he made is that if the British government where I am now is prosecuting James Ibori for money laundering, and the money that was said to be laundered is from Nigeria, and Ibori did not bring it cash, and that Ibori's lawyer, was accused of laundering those funds. He showed me all those money went through Barclays Bank. All through that money went through UK banks. So if it is money laundering, then UK banks should also be prosecuted for the offense, and not Ibori and himself alone. To me,
they are accomplices.
That's it. I said, okay, because of this, I will give you the media coverage that you need. And I started championing and writing negatively about Ibori's business prosecution in UK. Sometimes you are in the media, you cannot imagine where some of the things you write will go. What I wrote eventually made it to British Parliament when Ibori accused the UK police of the same corruption they're prosecuting him for. And I was flagged off as one of the media
promoters
that James Ibori bribed, that James Ibori had paid us to discredit Ibori's prosecution in London for money laundering. It appeared, my name appeared. Well, I don't know whether it's my name, but they mentioned that a media website based in Nigeria was being used in London to disparage the prosecution. So that is one. And our own Sahara reporters carried the story. If you Google Sahara reporters, you may see where Sahara reporters reported that Ibori paid me millions of dollars or whatever he claimed to do business promotion for him in the UK. Now, a lot of people read that. So, if you do not know why I took that stance to take Ibori's side of that story, of course, it may be easy for you to believe that Ibori has bribed me to do PR for him, and you believe Sahara reporters who carried that story. So you see why sometimes you cut off the noise. So for the people, for some of us here listening to this and working for DDM in the media industry, the lesson is this: always try to investigate your story. Always try to confirm that what you are writing is true or not, because there are always two sides to a story. Always beware of the narrative of a single story. Cut off the noise.
This is engaging, and I believe the world is listening to you.
It's interesting because another thing is that it's interesting to take distance, guys, because it's always risky to take the side of truth. And unless you bow down to the authorities, the second time I was arrested in Nigeria is because of the media. I think it was January 2018 when we woke up to the January 1 and we had the SARS, the infamous SARS of Nigeria, climbed up the fence of our house and arrested all my brothers, including myself, because I came down with my family and arrested all of us and took us to Abuja.
Terrible.
Yes. And what was that again? Because another media published a story against the then Inspector General of Police. And so the Inspector General of Police now issued an arrest warrant for they use, Nigeria is very, very, they are good in technology in the bad way. So they use telephone call to trace our, they use technology in a bad way. They went to our elomba.com Facebook website and saw the connecting number there. And when they called that number, it happened to be the phone number of Tim's wife. So Tim's wife was, I think it was Tim's phone number which he gave to his wife, and they were calling him and she was picking. As she was picking, they were tracing the location of they were triangulating the location of the call. And that led them to our house back then in January 2018 to see, for you to know how Arorwana, Nigeria could be. How Arorwana, that is how wickedly Arorwana the Nigerian government can be. So
In a bad way.
In a bad way. They will use it to do something good, though, but in a very bad way. They use technology in a bad way. So they use the phone call to triangulate our house, and they came there. And they don't even know who they're looking for. So what they know is, are you a Lomba? Yes. So you're a Lomba.com. So all of you are being arrested. Even two, I think Anthony is there. Anthony might have been arrested too that day. I've forgotten. So now, what happened? So when we reached Abuja, I told the guy, they said we'll sign a statement, and then I said, no, I'm not going. Because what the first thing I will do is to report to the British Council in Nigeria to say that you've arrested me. And so you tell the British Council why you arrested me. So eventually the arresting police commissioner allowed me to go and kept Tim. So the next day I came back. By then, I think 2 days after, I went to meet the British Consul in Nigeria who promised to intervene. And he asked me, do you want to go back to UK? Even though they took your passport, we can give you a document for you to go back to Britain and forget Nigeria. I said, no, now, if I agree with you and you take me back to Britain, without facing this trial, how will I come back to Nigeria again? So that means will I stop coming to Nigeria then? So I went back. I made a few calls, and they took us to the assistant to the general of police. So when we met him, he said, "Well, is your brother still in detention?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, what you will do is I will take you to the IGP for you to go and beg him." I said, "So what will I be begging the IGP for? Why should I beg him?" He said, "Don't you know? If you go and beg the IGP, you are a media man, you will be a partner, you will be his friend. He may start even giving you a contract. You will start making money because you will now be his friend, and then you and the IGP will be friends." I said, "Okay." So if I beg him now, he will drop the charge. He will release Tim. Tim said invitation for 28 days, by the way, 28 days. So you will release him, and then we will all go smile and go. He said yes. I said, "Okay, let me think about it." I went to Festus Keyamo. Some people can be good. This Festus Keyamo you are seeing today, I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's a good man. So we went to Festus Keyamo.
Probably because he helped you. Is that why he's a good man?
Well, it's not only me. Festus Keyamo was very good to a lot of journalists. So he did a lot of, Festus Keyamo was a human rights activist before he joined politics. Yeah, so being a human rights activist, he helped a lot of people and everything he did for me was pro bono. So I went to Keyamo. Keyamo said, "Daniel, if you ever go to beg the IGP, that is the end of your life." I said, "Why?" "Because he will keep NTA there. As you are begging, they'll be recording you, and they're broadcasting it on NTA channel news, NTA news at 9. And I'll stop talking to you. I'll stop talking with you for the rest of your life." So I said I won't beg the IGP. A lot of my brothers started calling me, "Daniel, are you crazy? Simply to beg IGP. And you say, why don't you go and beg IGP and you list him and go back to London?" So I refused to beg the IGP for forgiveness. But then we show him a little wahala. So that is why that wahala, Buhari sacked him. The IGP was removed, because sometimes it's also good to maintain that clean path. If you've not done anything wrong, people will defend you. So Keyamo contacted some people, and then the IGP was removed. And then we went to court that day. It was the same Keyamo that took me on bail free of charge. And then the judge posted a bail and I went away. So sometimes some people you think are not good, they're also good.
Interesting.
Another lesson: look beyond the surface. Look beyond what your eye can see. And that insight will help you realize that some people are not entirely good.
Probably in another way, looking from where you stand.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so that's it. That's about it really. Yeah.
In fact, you have made our day. But let me ask you this question. Was there ever a moment you wanted to quit? What kept you going? Because you have faced so many challenges and you are still strong. What kept you going? And was there ever a moment you wanted to quit?
Oh, yes. That was the time you will. When you mean quit, I think it's regards to some of the things I do is because not really to change the system that much, because I'm not here to change the system. No. I'm not here to fight the system just for the sake of fighting the system. No, it's just about something that you like to do, like the media. I don't like to dabble into government or politics. No, I try to keep away from the politics of it all. I try to keep away from just attacking government for the sake of attacking government. It's about a profession. Unfortunately, the two professions that I've dealt in sometimes brings you into conflict with government and politics, but it's the ability to realize where professionalism stops and politics begin. So I keep myself away from the political side of things. And so when you see when the line between politics and media starts blurring, when the line between politics and law starts blurring, that is the moment I almost decided to quit media entirely. I almost decided to, well, that is even why I stopped the human rights advocacy angle of it, because I wouldn't want to go into politics. So having said that, what I did is that was the moment I wanted to quit, if that is the answer to your question. But then what I did was to say, okay, let me rename my media. Let me stop calling it elomba.com, because the moment you start putting elomba.com there, that elomba could be associated, mistaken as dabbling into politics. And so we moved to Newsband.
Yeah.
So yes, the simple answer to your question is that the moment I almost stopped is the moment the line between media and politics starts blurring. So at that moment, I almost stopped. But then the advice I received was to change the name of the media from remove the Elomba from it, and give it a name that is neutral, so that your name will not be associated with politics, or your name will not be mistaken by people as dabbling into politics. Because one thing I've done, one thing also is that the moment you are doing media right, you see, Nigerian politicians are also very funny. So what they do is to invite you to government house. They give you those little cellophane bags full of words of naira notes. And then when you see naira, I wouldn't say no, now you will take the money. And then so because of the danger of trying
Well, you wouldn't know it's a bait.
yeah, exactly. That is the problem. It's the bait, because once you start taking that money, you wouldn't you wouldn't be bold to be critical anymore. So it becomes a problem. So it becomes a problem of where do you draw the line between pure media work and getting too cozy with politicians, getting too cozy with political leaders. So at that moment was when I started really considering whether to quit. But I like the structure we have today, because the spread digital media has kind of surmounted that problem, where you don't really get involved in being seen as anti-government or being political. You now run as a purely media and academic institution, removing the politics of it. Yeah.
That's interesting, sir. Thank you very much, sir. One more question. Who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself? I know everyone has this challenge of you're working, you're trying to work hard, and the challenges are surrounding you, and sometimes you begin to doubt yourself. Am I really doing this right? Who actually believed in you, that encouraged you when you didn't believe in yourself?
That's a difficult one now. I think my dad. Yeah. I think my late dad. The story I told you about the business I did, I think at that point he was one of the people I spoke with, and yeah, after the business collapse, he was the one of the person I spoke with and said, you know what are the options? So, well, I have the option either sticking to law, going back to business, or traveling abroad. He said, okay, if you go abroad, what can you do? I said, okay, I may go back to school, I may do my master's degree. And he said, okay, the best thing you will do is to go abroad, go and do your master's degree, clear your head. And he was always, even when I travel, he was always calling me. I have a very bad habit of calling people anyway up till now. So he will be the one always calling me. So I think at that point I needed that support to say, hey, you are not really a failure. You only made a bad judgment, but you can rise up and pick up yourself. I think that was his actual words. Actually, you can always rise up and pick up yourself again and keep moving. So I think my dad at that point was very pivotal. Yeah.
Interesting. So. Interesting.
If you want to talk about DDM,
what do people often, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to talk about DDM, I didn't really believe that DDM would take off.
Yeah.
But I think it was a conversation with two people.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a conversation I
Tell us
held.
about DDM.
Okay. The conversation with two people, one, of course, Dr. Cordelia, and then Dr. Vincent was
Okay.
like, yeah, that you can do this. So why don't we give it a try? So I didn't have that confidence that DDM can fly, but I think these two people, I spoke to them at the critical time and said, yes, that we can do it. So
Interesting. Yeah, this is almost the final question.
okay.
What do people often misunderstand about your work or about you? You know, I know this might be emotional, but it's something that we can learn from. The world is listening. What do people often misunderstand about you or about your work?
Okay, two things. Okay, two. A lot of people believe that I'm naive. But some people who relate with me goes away with the impression that I'm naive, because you are telling them something that's not really, they think is not feasible. I have a policy in life that some people look at things that, how do I put it? Some people look at things and say, I can do it. Some people actually dream of things that do not exist and ask why not. So I dream of things that do not exist and I think, why not? And then when you want to discuss with people to say, let us go and do this, they say, Daniel, this cannot work. You are being naive. So that is why. And then when you tell people, okay, that you can always do this with people, that you should trust people to do this thing with you, they will think that you are naive for trusting people, because people will always betray that trust. And then when you believe that things can work out positively, if you're a tough-minded optimist, you are being optimistic something will succeed, they will say you are naive. So I think in my relation with people, some people will say that you are naive. But sometimes they may be right, but most of the times they are wrong. People also think that because I do media and legal, that I dabble into politics, that I'm a politician. I'm not. I don't do politics. I'm not a politician. And I never will become a politician in my life. It's against my personal convictions as a person, and it's against all the all the ideals I hold dear. I also believe it's against my scriptural convictions to dabble into
But
politics.
we are all political animals.
In what
we
way?
are all political animals.
Okay, enlighten me.
Everything everyone does, we are becoming political in everything we do. Don't you think so?
In what way?
As a political animal.
Okay, educate me this time. In what way are we political animals? No, I want to learn from you right now. So how are we political animals?
No, I am not here to educate us. I think you are the educator, so I wouldn't have to pull your legs, but I'm trying to.
No, I want to know, maybe I'm wrong. Let us make it a conversation now.
You said you're not political.
No.
Yeah, but politics is all about humans and our surroundings. And I believe you have made a lot of impact in the world, in Nigeria, and everything you are doing is on the side of improving lives, improving justice, you know, and making the justice system the best result, you know. So I wouldn't agree with you that you're not political, because I know everything you are doing is trying to improve on the existing protocol, you know.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, in that sense, helping to, if you mean because eventually what happened was the moment I said, I think I should draw a line between what I do in the media world and politics, it became easier for me to sell it became easier to sell my media company to DDM. So, and once that my media company was sold off, I think I felt relieved that I'm no longer under the pressure to be seen as political, relieve the pressure to dabble into politics. So DDM is now structured in a way to run as a purely media company without dabbling into politics. Yes. So if you view what DDM is doing, if you do what DDM is doing is to help to establish a fairer society, helping to get people into job, helping to train people in the DDM academy. So if you view them as intervening in the political scheme of things, well, I don't know what to say about that. I think it's best to allow the works, the results of what DDM is doing, speak for itself.
Exactly. So if you could leave just one message behind for the world or the next generation, what would it be?
The world today is so full of noise. Again, you look at what is happening in Palestine, Ukraine, people not talking of the United States, even UK, the West, the China, Russia. There is too much noise and too much pressure that tend to distract people from their humanity. So today it will appear that humanity is dead. Today it will appear as if people are too distracted to even believe that God exists and that God is interested in you as an individual. And that does not mean joining some of these religions that doesn't really teach you what God exactly wants you to do. So I think it's more of pay more attention to yourself, listen to the humanity in you, be more people conscious, and believe in self-development. Develop yourself, most importantly, so that you can achieve your goals. I think that is very, very important. So for young people of today who are called Gen Z, I posted one thing on my status yesterday, which is about that wealth quickly accumulated will easily dissipate. I didn't know this was in the Bible until I saw it in the Bible yesterday. That wealth quickly acquired will eventually be dissipated. But wealth gathered little by little,
Exactly.
that wealth gathered little by little
will last forever.
Will last forever. So I think the present generation should actually think about that and stop all this story about Egombute. This Egombute phenomenon in Nigeria is destroying the society. That is it's Egombute phenomenon that led to this Ike, what do you call it again? Ike what? This guy that Ike
Boutique.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it is this Ogambuta, it started with well, I think in our own time it was Ndingwo, but then when the phenomena that was running when I was young. So we talked about Ndingwo, but then I think the generation that succeeded us now started talking about Egombute. Now Ogombute eventually led to Okite phenomenon. So we should be very, and let us stop worshiping these rich celebrities. When we look at the way people flaunt their money, there is this funeral ceremony that happened the other day in Obo. It was in Jenko, and then we look at these people, we look at what E-Money and the Big Cubana and others are doing, the way they flaunt their wealth. I think it has led to this flaunting of wealth has led young people to believe that wealth can easily be acquired. This has led to criminality. This has led to believe in the occult. This has led to people engaging in a lot of evil things that we never imagined could be happening in the Southeast. So we should be very, very careful. And if the elderly ones have failed to set that example, I think the present generation should think twice about it. Whether it is really the good way to go. That the only thing young people are talking about is Yahoo, Egombute, Okite, cultism, money rituals, all these flashy religions, prosperity message, gospel, and so on. People should be very, very careful. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful, impactful conversation. What a wonderful, what a powerful conversation with Barrister Daniel Elumba. A reminder that change doesn't always start with a movement, but often with a moment, a choice, or a story. If today's talk moved you, challenged you, or sparked new thoughts, don't keep it to yourself. Share it and give us a like. Reflect on it, act on it. This is Table for Two, where every seat holds the power to spark change. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep making your corner of the world better. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much, Barrister Daniel Elumba. It's wonderful having you at this roundtable. Bye-bye.